So for those of you who are joining us via Zoom, again, thank you so much for joining. You'll have the opportunity to ask us questions throughout. I see a couple of familiar names, so thank you again for joining. For those of you who are joining us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all social media, we would love to hear from you. So go ahead and drop in a hello or a question in the comment box. I'll keep an eye on that throughout as well too. And again, those of you who have joined via Zoom, we want to make sure that we hear from you as well too. So go ahead and say hello in the chat box. I'm opening it up right now. You can send a message to everybody or even just the panelists if you have a specific question. As I mentioned before, this is episode 15 of the Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. I can't believe it's been 15 weeks since we spun this up, really at the front door of the shelter in place. Our focus on this webinar series is really bringing leaders to the table to unpack topics and conversations that matter most to our leaders today. And today we have an incredible leader from an industry that we all know, housing, mortgages. And I will introduce her in just a moment. I know I'm really building up the suspense here. But I also want to thank those of you who have joined us on a week-to-week basis and who have joined the discussion. I see a few familiar names in the Zoom room. So again, thank you for joining us on the regular basis. The discussions that we've had have been extremely robust. We hope that they've been timely and valuable to you all. And as well, these discussions get better with engagement. So as you all have questions throughout or comments, please drop them in the chat box. Jessica, hello. So good to see you. Thank you again for being such a great regular and a great voice and friend to the Thoughtium community. So this month's series has been on what we call Small Business Strong. We've been unpacking big topics month to month. We've gone from how to make pivots in this global pandemic as a business owner. We've talked a lot about resilience and authenticity, how we take care of ourselves as business leaders. This month has all been about small business owners, and those of us who are making dramatic changes in the face of changing marketplaces. And today I'm extremely honored. And I told her before we got on today that this is probably more of a dream of mine than it is of hers. But I'm extremely honored to welcome my twin sister, Christina Ewing, to the table. Christina is a senior advisor at Cross Country Mortgage. She's been very much an entrepreneur her entire life, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And Christina, welcome. First and foremost to the virtual roundtable. I know you've been a fan of this series. I've gotten some really good feedback from you throughout in terms of how we shape it. And so I finally said, you know what, we've got to get you at the table. So Christina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me be here. I was wondering when you were going to ask.
Yeah, this is a little surreal for me. You know, I spent pretty much my entire life with this human, Christina. And I first want to really just create the space and let you know that I love you. And I'm extremely humbled and honored for you to be at the table with me today. We've got a lot to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, our roots and what has inspired us throughout our lifetime to continue to develop ourselves and connect with others. I want to talk a little bit about your business because I know that the mortgage industry right now is at the center of a lot of discussion, as it always typically is around times of great change or even distress in the markets. So I think there's going to be a lot of value to our listeners who own or are potentially thinking about owning. There's a lot to know about mortgages today that we maybe didn't need to know yesterday. So I want to get into that. But the real focus here, Christina, is on you. And I want to learn a little bit more about you as somebody who has navigated your career in a real special way. And I want to maybe start with what I would consider probably the most difficult question for you. What was it like growing up with a child prodigy, and was it difficult to have to run alongside of me for all of those years?
I don't even know how to answer that.
You knew I had to throw that one in there. Christina and I, we've got quite a bond. You know, we are twins. We're brothers and sisters. We're a part of an incredible family made of other entrepreneurs. And as Christina and I have navigated our own careers, we've actually really bonded over the last few years in some of the decisions we've made in our career. But Christina, I want to start where maybe with, you know, what entrepreneurship means to you, and maybe where entrepreneurship started with you? Like, as you think back to your childhood, our childhood, before we maybe even knew what that term meant, what did entrepreneurship mean to you at an early age?
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, I was surrounded by people in the family that made big things happen for themselves. So while I didn't really understand what entrepreneur meant at that point, I knew I wanted to be like that because I was surrounded in my family by all people who were taking risks, taking chances, working hard, and doing those kinds of things. But when I actually really, really started to become an entrepreneur was when I moved out of my house when I was 17 years old, and I was telemarketing, and at that point, I was telemarketing for a mortgage company, and I was making, at that time, was really good for cold calling. It was like, I think $11 an hour or something. But this wasn't enough for me to cover my rent with my 2 roommates. So I had to approach the owner of the business, and I said, listen, I have to make more money. You need to teach me this skill. And he taught me, and he took me under his wing. And that was my first experience in the business world of being, what's the word for it? What is the word, Anthony?
Entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial,
yeah.
of being coached, of having somebody that I looked up to, saying, here, I'm gonna mentor you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Mentor you and teach you how to become successful in a business that you can make a huge career out of if you want.
Yep. The way that I describe our relationship, because people always ask what is it like to be a twin? And, the way that I always respond to that, and I think it might be that we're not identical. But I also think it's because you and I have always chose like different paths, but then we've always come together. And the way that I always describe it is that there are so many times where, I am the big brother, and there are definitely times when I'm the little brother, where you're leading and I'm learning, and vice versa. And I will never forget the job that you had at CNC Preferred Mortgage out of Schaumburg. It was maybe a half a mile from our home. And, I was still, playing sports and, hanging out with friends and trying to understand what the next step was. And here my, 17-year-old sister had a corporate job working with predominantly men twice her age.
Yeah.
in a, in an office park, a half a mile from the house. And, if you remember, I had a bit of a run where I took a job at the same company.
Yeah.
And I followed suit. This was like, this was me being little brother, and I followed suit. And I'm like, man, she's making good money, $11 an hour. Like, I got to see what this is all about. It was no joke. I mean, it was cutthroat. It was fast paced. And again, you're dealing with professionals that were, twice your age. So what was that experience like for you, being so young in an industry of older, predominantly male professionals?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard. And to be honest with you, there were a lot of people that didn't really want me to succeed, or I believe that, didn't think that I would succeed. It took a long time for clients to take me seriously. I was 19, 20 years old, but it was just one of those things where I was just like, I know I can be really successful at this. I know I'm not the smartest person at this. I'm not like the brainy, like I'm not good like that. But when it comes to not failing, you just have to just keep going. And that's kind of just what I did. I said, if I keep going at this, eventually people are going to take me seriously. I'm going to be successful. And I like what I'm doing. So why don't I just keep at it?
I love that. It's taking me back, because I know that it was building a skill set that maybe you didn't even realize at the time was going to be the foundation for the rest of your career. When you were telemarketing for a mortgage company at 17, and we were all, I think actually before I took the job at CNC Preferred Mortgage, I was making ice cream cones at Dairy Queen. So you talk about just the juxtaposition there between the world that you were living almost as an independent adult, like in the business world, and me, trying to decide, what type of sprinkles I put on this ice cream cone for my friends. Did you know at the time that this was going to be the rest of your career?
No, I did not. And in fact, I did go to college for a stint, if you remember, to do interior design. And I couldn't draw a straight line. This was not the field for me. And I was dying after a year just to go back and to sell, because that's what I like to do. I still wasn't very good at it.
Yeah. Well, but you had plenty of years to learn, and that's exactly what you did. And I do want to fast forward into, your more recent success in the mortgage industry, but I want to maybe double click into, our family, because I know that our family has had such a profound, impact on us. I know that when you and I connect and we talk business, we're always referring to somebody in our family that had some conversation with us or some meaningful experience. So, tell us a little bit about, growing up in a family. You said it earlier, of people that were doing big things. Like, tell us a little bit about that. And I might want to reflect a little bit as well too, but what type of family did we grow up in, and maybe what stuck out that influences you now today as an entrepreneur? Yeah.
So, the word that came to mind, that comes to mind when I think of that, really is independence. And above anything, we were taught by mom and dad to be independent. That was important. And nobody was going to hold our hand through anything in life. And that was the greatest gift, because, now look at you and look at me. We're both, it has nothing to do with money. We're both pursuing our dreams. We're building something. We're excited about it, and we're totally independent, and it's awesome. So that, I think more than anything, I didn't understand the word entrepreneur as a younger person, or even as a young adult, but I understood what independence was, and I valued that. And that was something that was important to me, that I be independent and that I make something of my own.
I love that. I want to throw a word in there as well too, that I'll add, consistency, and just, thinking about our platonic family, particularly our dad, who I believe is on the line here today. So Dad, if you are on the line, we love you. Thank you for joining, and Mom as well too. Our father spent the better part of 40 years in the business world. And, if I didn't know what the heck you were doing going to CNC Preferred Mortgage as a 17-year-old, I spent a lot of years not knowing what Dad was doing, taking the train downtown, day in, day out. And as I got older, and as I started to really, develop my education and my experience in business, I started to look back at the progression and the career ladder that Dad followed. And not only was it very close to the career that I started in sales and marketing, but I started to really acknowledge just the consistency that it took for him to develop his career while raising a family and providing. And Dad's the type of professional that does it real quietly.
Yeah.
He didn't have a weekly virtual roundtable series. He didn't need the lights and the microphones. He just did it consistently. And I do remember several times where he would come home and he would tell us stories of big meetings that he had, or big wins that he would be on, or every once in a while, Mom and Dad would go away for 10 days, and we thought it was on vacation, but it really was on like an awards trip that he won.
Yeah.
And, that type of quiet consistency is, you don't need to hear it. You don't need to have that discussion. You just know that it's there, and it becomes a part of your DNA when you see your dad leave every morning at 6:15 and come home every night at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And you don't need to know the path that he took between 6:30 and 7:30 at night, especially in the 80s and 90s, where that was the norm. You took the train into the city, you worked your butt off for 12 hours, and you took the train back to the suburbs. What we didn't realize is that he had developed an incredible career himself. And I think it's incredible to think about the indirect influence that has had on both of us. So you have one side of our family that, is encouraging us to be independent and to take risks and take shots. And you have a major part of our family in our father who was doing all of that, but he was doing it in such a consistent fashion. And to me, those are the ability to set your mind to something and continually execute on it year over year over year, but also to keep your eye on the North Star or potentially pivots that you can make that will allow you to jump the curve. Like those are the two key ingredients. Not to mention, other folks in our family who have decided to take, entrepreneurial paths as well too. We are so fortunate to come from a family of folks who have really taken charge of their career.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what you said about that is so true. When you can do it quietly and, there's no grandstanding about it, that's the most beautiful thing.
Yep. We love you, Big Ed. Thank you for joining. So let's get into, I want to talk a little bit about your business because, at 17, you started in the mortgage industry, and here you are, and I won't date you, but it's many years later, and you are now a leader in the industry. So tell us a little bit about that, career path for you, and tell us about, who you are today and, the work that you love to do today.
Oh, that's such a big question spanning so many years. All I can say is, for many, many years, it was just really putting one foot in front of the other and really trying to survive. And then it really became, then I just wanted to beat other people in my industry. And now it's more that I want to help other people in the industry. I like to mentor people. But, really my business has become more personal to me, and it's more about, it even moves into character development a little bit. My favorite quote is kind of a funny one by Ram Dass. It's, treat everyone you meet as if they are God in drag. And I think that may or may not make sense.
There she is. There's Christina. All right, the show can start.
That's what I do.
I love it.
So I think about it and I say, oh my gosh, all these people, people you get along with, people you don't get along with, you just have to approach it where you just want to help everyone, and where the fair and honest moves that you make when nobody's watching, there's a lot of things in our industry where there's a lot of loan officers out there that are very, honestly dishonest. There's a lot of ways in which consumers can be misinformed. And there's a lot of ways in which people can cut corners. But I really try to approach every decision, and I'm talking about small decisions, through the lens of that quote and through the lens of doing things not so that people say, oh, Christina, you were so honest, or this, that, or the other thing. Just like what the word you love using all the time, micro. Just like the micro stuff that you do every day.
Is that one of my trademark terms, apparently?
Micro, macro.
The clouds, the dirt. Yep.
Lean in.
No, but that's interesting. It's about, you said it's about the micro decisions. How has the mortgage industry evolved over the years? Because to me, the mortgage industry, as well as others, a lot of industries, can be a difficult playing ground in such a cutthroat environment to do the right thing. So how has the mortgage industry maybe evolved over the years to support your methodology, or has it not? And this becomes like a huge differentiator for you.
Yeah, I think, just over the course of the 10 years, many, many loan officers have gotten out of the business just due to all the carnage, after the housing bust and all that. So loan officers are pretty savvy that are in the industry right now, but I do think that an extra layer of attention to those little details and the little ways in which you're sometimes telling people to go call a different lender because it's just not the right thing for you, things like that. Just little stuff like that. People notice it and they do appreciate it. I think that's the same for any industry.
Mm-hmm. You have a very particular way with, so we're a client services, Thoughtium's a client services company. We do consulting, and we work with a lot of different clients, and we work with them in different ways, but there's a very unique touch point and ethos that we have with our clients. And it has to do with sitting at the table, co-designing, empowering them to do their best work. I know in seeing you in action, you have a very particular way of working with your clients. And as much as I've seen the softer side of you that leads with customer service and has deep empathy for everyone's position, like I also know that in order to simply get things done, there's a certain tone and energy that you bring to the client engagement that is very unique.
Yeah.
And ironically, your clients actually appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about that tone and that energy.
Maybe we should ask my husband what the word for it is. Is it yelling at the client? Is the word yelling at the clients? Is that appropriate?
Possibly. There might have been a little bit of that. Yeah.
No, just, it's this thing like how, our grandma always said, tell it like it is. Sometimes people need to be told like it is. They need to hear what the deal is. You do this or else we don't get there, and there's a lot of people that will circle the wagon on that in the name of customer service, but it's not going to get people where they need to go to the closing table on time, all those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. Grandma used to say, tell it like it is. And she absolutely did. And like, there's just no avoiding, us having a bit of that communication style. And I know your husband, Jim, and I have been in the room when you've been on phone calls with clients. And, as much as we joke about like it's toned and you get a little loud with them, it's also in just how direct and clear you are in terms of what they're going to get and what they're not going to get. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a very clear value exchange there where maybe other loan officers, it might be a little bit more of like a gray area where they maybe lead their clients on, or their clients think that they're going to get something and at the last second they don't. Is there a little bit of that happens in your industry?
There's a lot of that happens in our industry, and I know that people that refer me business and my clients, I'm sure when they refer me to other people say, Christina, just so you know, she might be a little brash, but what she tells you is always going to be accurate. She will always meet her commitment and she'll always be honest. And you know what? When I mess up, I admit it too. And I find a way to make it right with the customer. So no, it's not a typical sales experience. And I guess I'm glad you brought that up because my colleagues they come in, they're like, after I hang up the phone, they're like, what? Like, I was just telling them what was going on.
Uh-huh. Where do you think you got that candor from? I mean, I know, again, family and upbringing and stuff, but like, where did that candor develop over time? Is it a skill that you've had to develop? Because frankly, it's something I struggle with every once in a while. In just being direct, saying,
I'm really good at
more
candor.
with less. Yes, you're good at that.
Yeah, I'm probably too good with candor almost sometimes. It makes me insecure when I'm not just being direct with people. It helps me just build my confidence. It feeds me, that I'm just being direct with people. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if I'm in this other like ethos, it's not as easy for me I couldn't do business that way. Mm. And the more confident that I get, the more direct I get with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. We have a good question that came from the Zoom room, which I love. So, and this is from somebody who knows, your story pretty well. But I think it's a good segue into the next topic I wanted to bring up. And the question is around your recent announcement of combining your brand and elevating your brand to Team Ewing. Which includes, more than just your face and your name. And the question is, tell us about the process to, let go, to evolve. What is the new team path forward and what does this mean for you? So maybe start a little bit with your current team, your current, business, because I know your husband, Jim, is intimately involved, and talk a little bit about this evolution that you're going through. Because I can imagine that the best loan officers out there, their value rests on their name, right? Their name is their brand. And how do you take the next step to have more of a team approach?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I don't really have to give up the brand, I don't think, with that, but I really want people to know my husband's, Jim's been working with us for 5 years now, and it's important to me that he picked the phone up on Saturdays.
For those of you who know Christina and I, we share a very, very emotional gene. And so this doesn't surprise me at all. Her husband, Jim, is just an incredible human. And I know he's an integral part of the business. So, and he's more than picking up the phone. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about him.
The reality is that he's been doing the heavy lifting on the team for years. He's been he's been the brains. When he came on board 5 years ago, he cleaned up all the systems of the way I do business, all of that. And it's just natural that he should be part of it. It's really, nothing's really changing in the business. It's just that his face should be seen because he is part of the face of the business now. All my clients are dealing with him, and me. And we have chosen not to build out, a lot of people in mortgages, like they think success means, and it could mean for them this way, having all these, like having your name, it's real popular in our business, having your name and then having like 10 loan officers business under your name.
Right.
And in my opinion, it's just so you can say, oh, I do all this volume. I don't do it like that. I just like to keep it's me and my husband and one other person. That's it. And we want to keep it that way. And because he's my husband, it's easy for me to let go in that way. It's hard to hire somebody in a sales environment that's dealing with your database like that. So a husband is a good fit for that.
Will people experience, and I'm asking this question because, in consulting, oftentimes we go through the same evolution where consultants typically start a one-person shop. They develop a book of business based on their name, very specific work that they do with clients. And the challenge then in building a company, and this is the process that we've been going through over the last several years, is how do you elevate above your name so that you can build an entity that, yes, lives and breathes beyond, your time, but also provides more value than just like the Christina Ewing magic. Now, I know most people are going to because you're magical and they need your magic, but will the services that you provide feel any different now that, Jim's a little bit more at the front of the brand?
Yeah. I mean, that's always a tricky thing. That goes back to like hiring decisions. And luckily, Jim wasn't really a hiring decision. It just kind of morphed as it was. But, you and I have talked about when you make hiring decisions, you have to choose people that are equally invested in your business. And it can't be like a transactional thing. And there has to be another hook for them. And if you don't see that hook, it's not the right teammate. I mean, I burned through all my people that I had, my whole team last year, and I had to rebuild my team. And that was the decision that I made. And I said, oh my God, I need people that are really invested in my business like I am, because it shows. And if they're not, it doesn't show. And if it shows, then it doesn't matter who's working on your business because everybody cares.
Did you have any emotion at the center of, you mentioned you had to turn over a bunch of your team last year. Was that scary for you? Was there any emotion that showed up? Like what was that process like for you?
Oh, I cried. I struggled with it. I wanted to believe, you become committed to people, and it's important to realize when you're more committed to people than they are to you. And that's, something that I had to take a look at in my own business. And sometimes it's hard to see, which is why it's good when, in this case, there were other people within that had access to my business and knew about my business that were saying, maybe take a look at your business, and maybe you need to rustle things up a little bit. And that was a big leap of faith for me because the people that were working on my team were doing a great job, but they weren't invested in my business and I could do better. And now I am doing way better.
And you've probably realized too that you're better serving them as well too, right? Like not being in a spot that's unproductive for them or going in a different direction. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is a muscle that you build as a business owner, is the ability to see talent, but also the ability to continue to guide your company in a direction and support it with the right people.
Yeah.
And I know that's a skill set that you have to build. And for me as an empath, like I struggle in that space because I so deeply connect with everybody, regardless
Yeah.
of, who they are and what skills they bring to the table. Yeah, there's a couple funny stories just about, our recruiting process. And my team knows that one of the challenges that we have is that, I tend to see like the amazingness or an amazing part of somebody in every interaction that I have, right? That's actually our grandpa.
I was just going to say that's grandpa.
That's
Yeah.
100% our grandpa, no matter what type of a conversation he was having and who it was with. Even if he had never talked to the person before, he would so very quickly identify a sweet spot in them, and they would realize that, and they would light up, and that would be the platform that they would connect on, and he would revisit that sweet spot. I always called him the keeper of our dreams. That's who he was. And that's a connection that I look to make in every one of my interactions. It's so great sometimes.
It. Yeah. I don't necessarily emulate it with my customers, but in all other interpersonal relationships in life, that is something I try to emulate, and I think especially right now, just with everything that's going on, there's such a need and a place for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that real quick, because, I know that Grandpa had a lot of influence on our lives as well too. He was just an incredible entrepreneur, but the way that he connected with people one-on-one was timeless, absolutely timeless. And I'm convinced that if he were living today, the format would be face-to-face.
Absolutely.
We would, regardless of what's happening, around us and how quickly technology is developing, we would physically be sitting at his kitchen table on Sundays talking about our dreams. And that would be his format, and it would still work for him. Like, even if he was an executive in an organization. So, do you carry some of that, that need for the human touch, the face-to-face in a business now that's extremely digital? You don't even need to go to closings anymore as a loan officer, if I understand. So how do you keep that human element in your relationships with your clients?
That's a tough one. And I mean, it's something we're just starting to explore, in the realization that real estate is going to be for quite some time, and people may decide to stay on this touchless platform in the real estate world. So social media is a big one. That's how you can show people what you're up to, what you're doing right now. But I hope that we do move back to a space where people can connect in the way that people have for decades and decades, because I just think it's good for you. I think it's good for business. I think it's good for humans.
Well, and I'll maybe add, just again, through my observance of the way that you do business, your availability is like no one else's I've ever seen in any industry. And that actually, it's ironically, like, it doesn't mean that you work around the clock. It just means that you are available. It also means that you know how to prioritize discussions. So the discussions that you need to be available for on a Saturday afternoon versus just being available on a Saturday afternoon. And again, I think that's through setting expectations with your clients and telling it like it is, as we always talked about. I can imagine there's a lot of loan officers out there that are not as available as you. Do you think that's a differentiator?
Oh, totally. People know I will always pick up the phone. And the thing about being available is that you don't even have to necessarily be available to solve their problem, close the argument, address whatever. It's just saying, hey, I'm here. I know this is important to you. This is when I'm going to get back to you. Just being able to make a touch point so that they know, what, because this is people's biggest investment of their life in most cases. Yep. So you have to, if you're not, I would expect my loan officer to be available for me like that.
Tell us a little bit about, because I know we've got a lot of viewers, particularly on LinkedIn, who either own a home or are in the market. Tell us what's happening in the mortgage industry and the housing, marketplace, and what should we be thinking about as homeowners or potential homeowners today?
Yeah. So, the thing that I talk to, clients that tell me, that ask me, they're like, is now the right time to buy and stuff, and there was a prediction that was made before I believed the prediction by the owners of App Properties, which is like the largest real estate firm in the Chicagoland area. And their prediction was that housing was going to lead us out of everything that's going on with COVID. And I was like, this is going to kill COVID. COVID's going to kill the economy for the rest of the year. It's going to kill everything.
Mm.
What I didn't realize is that, the reality is that housing has never been more important to people. I have never been more busy in my life. People are on the move big time. They're on the move to find space a lot of times in the city, to get out of the downtown metro area and get into more of the neighborhoods where they can have their own like patch of grass, moving to the suburbs, moving to Indiana, moving wherever. So, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Everything's different now that COVID happened. People are making decisions with the mindset of, can I be stuck here? And that changes everything for housing. So I think housing is a strong bet for many years to come. This is not like the last economic upset where we had that housing was at the center of it. It was a housing event. That's what the housing crash was, and everything that happened in 2000.
Yeah.
Housing was at the center of that. Not now. Housing, I think, is going to be the savior of all this.
Are there one or two things that you suggest that people focus on or pay attention to if they are looking to secure a new mortgage or refinance?
If you're looking to buy, get pre-approved early, like as much as 12 months early. So that if there's stuff that you need to be doing to best position yourself for like the best rates and everything, that you're doing that, because everything is a risk-based pricing model in the mortgage world. Everything's now rates and everything's done based on risk. So you want to be able to be in the lowest risk bucket when your loan hits an underwriter's desk, so that you get the best rates. You have you get through the system the easiest everywhere. The only way you know how to be that person is to have knowledge way ahead of time, so you can plan for that.
Yep. Cool. Love that. At what point did you accept that I was mom's favorite? And did that at all change your decision-making throughout the rest of your life?
I think I'm probably the favorite right now.
I don't know. I have the better lighting at this point. So that's, I've got that in my favor. We want to just pause and I want to welcome again everybody who are joining via LinkedIn, Facebook as well. I'm sure we've got a lot of family and friends that are watching via Facebook. This is just so cool to have you on, Christina. It's so cool to kind of bounce between business and personal and family. We also, again, want to thank those folks who have joined via Zoom. We would love for you all to submit questions. I'm also keeping an eye on the chat box in LinkedIn. We've got a couple folks who have chimed in and said hello via LinkedIn. So thank you very much. Andrew, good to see you on LinkedIn. Kristen and Connor, thanks so much for joining. I want to maybe switch past a little bit before we wrap up. And I want to talk about success, because I know that, our definition, and I mean that respectively, yours and mine, of success has evolved over time. And it's just been, first and foremost, it's been incredible to witness the success that, you have become just as a person. It's also been incredible to share that journey with you, and to know that every year as we get older, we tend to connect even deeper. And most recently, it's actually been on our businesses, which has been so much fun, because we spent the majority of our lives, like I was making ice cream cones and, you were slinging mortgages. There never was this convergence in our path like there is today. And our discussions have just been so incredible because of it. Tell us about success. And again, maybe it's not limited to business. What did success mean to you, growing up, versus what does success mean to you today?
Yeah. success for a long time for me meant surviving in a lot of ways. People that have known me for a long time know that. This is such an emotional question for me.
That's why I put it in there. Listen, these aren't the first tears to be shed on the Navigating Now series. So I appreciate your authenticity.
No. Success means to me, I want to love myself. I want to love the product that I put out there. And I'm not talking about mortgage products. I'm talking about who I am and what I have to offer in the space that we're in the world. That's what success is to me. I want to feel that I've impacted people in a positive way.
Yeah.
I want people to like me.
Well, I think you've checked that last box for sure. And we've got a couple people who are supporting you in chat right now.
Oh, good. I'll have to go.
Yeah. Somebody just mentioned Christina shines. And you do. I mean, it's this authenticity, it's this vulnerability that makes you who you are. And it's interesting because, I was trying to tell my team earlier today about you and just the connection that we have. And folks will not be surprised, watching this, that you and I are both extremely emotional characters. But I think that your version of success and its evolution is very, very real. And I think everyone can relate to that, as you get older, that your version of success becomes a lot more broader. And it becomes a lot about others.
Yeah.
Where you have an incredible other orientation. And I want to make a point of that, because it's not just what makes you who you are, but it also, I think, makes you very successful in the way that you manage your business. We have a fun question that I don't even know how to answer, but like you and I should unpack it. And Jessica, I absolutely love the question. Jessica asks, if you guys could start a business together, what would it be? The crazy thing is, of all of my ideas and your ideas, we've actually never come together. Yeah. And really put those ideas together. I'll start here without creating an actual business out of thin air. And my clients know this, my team knows this. My personal vision is to perpetuate the dreams of my friends. I've been saying that more and more and more. And my version of friends has gotten wider and wider and wider. It starts with, my friends and family, kind of my inner circle. But the clients and the folks that we work with now on a regular basis have become friends. And my job is to perpetuate their dreams. My job is to put them on. And I think there's a lot of that in what you do and the way that you work. So again, this is a very abstract answer to this question, but I do believe that if Christina and I were in business, we would be creating a platform for other people to step into, and we would be shining light on their greatness. Because I just think that that's what you and I are ultimately passionate about.
I would have given a similar answer. I would have said we would have done something that was making people feel good in some way, shape, or form. Whatever it was that was in that space.
Yep, absolutely. Jessica says a lighting company. She wants something very specific. I like that. Yeah, like some sort of like lighting company that shines light on people's great work. Thank you, Jessica. That's hilarious. So I want to just go through and make sure that we don't have any additional questions to cover off on. I also want to talk a little bit about where people can currently find you today. So while I do that, Christina, why don't you tell folks how they can find you and how they can reach out if they have any additional questions?
Yeah. So if you do want anything in the mortgage related space, you can always contact me on my cell phone. Really the best way to reach me. I have really good SEO. So if you Google my name, you'll find everything on me.
Just Google it.
Google me.
Wonderful. I want to, and we're going to wrap things up here and give folks some time back. But first and foremost, Christina, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
This was so much fun. I knew this was going to be fun, and I know this won't be the last time that you and I come to the table. This is actually the first time that you and I have virtually connected. So it's it's pretty ironic because typically it's you and I, sitting in the back of your house having a cocktail. But this has been really cool to bring you into our space and to bring you into this platform that we've created to, no pun intended, shine light on leaders like yourself has been pretty amazing. It's actually cool also to hear a little bit more about, what you do and the evolution. I also want to thank those of you who have joined, particularly our family and friends. And I see all of you on here. Thank you so much for joining. This has been incredible for, I know, Christina and I, to share this bond that we have with you all. You know that she and I are bonded as siblings, but we're also bonded as entrepreneurs, and it's been fun to unpack that today. So again, thank you everybody for joining. I also would love to share that next month we've got a new focus, and I'm going to go ahead and put it up here on the screen for everybody to see. But the Navigating Now Roundtable series continues, and next month we're going to be focusing on the future of learning. And this has been a huge topic of ours as we work with our clients to reimagine the learning experience. And that goes well beyond, just flipping the face-to-face training experiences to virtual, which has, I know, have been the center of this evolution. But what's come from this is a much deeper focus on what it takes to actually drive learning engagement with adults. And that is changing by the day as we become more virtual first, and we have more of a thirst for developing ourselves. And so next month, August, and we're going to get back on the Thursday schedule, we're going to be bringing leaders from across the learning and development industry to the table to unpack this concept and talk about how not just the digital reform that's happening is affecting our programs, but also bringing in some more futuristic concepts that I think will shape the way that we are driving learning and development in adult learners. So we really look forward to that. We'll be posting the set of panelists here over the course of the next week or so. We're here every Thursday. I know it's Wednesday today, but we're here every Thursday at 3:00. We broadcast live to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you all for joining. Again, thanks to the folks who joined the Zoom room. And Christina, I love you. And
I love you
I'm so
more.
proud of you.
I love you
and,
more.
We'll have you back here soon. Thanks, everybody, and have a good rest of the afternoon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.